it's Ruby, and today I'm going to be giving you a few tips on how to revise for English because actually I remember back in maybe year 10 when I'd be asked to revise for English, I'd always think, you know, how do I actually revise for English? So I thought that I'd just go through a few ways that you can revise for English, which hopefully will be helpful. So these are very quick tips. They're not necessarily specific to the A-level. They can be applied to Key Stage 3, GCSE, A-level. It sounds really bad, I know to say, but I want you to know that these tips do work, which is why I do say before I tell you my tips for revising specific subjects that I have been successful studying for this subject in the past. So for GCSE I got A stars in both English literature and English language, and last year for AS I got an A in English and was 3 marks off 4 marks. Sorry, I don't want that to sound really bad because I know that could come across like I'm just bragging. I'm honestly not saying that to brag. I'm not saying, oh, well, look at me, I was able to get this mark. You try these revision strategies, you might similarly be able to score highly in English. Just so you know that these tips do work. That's the only reason I'm telling you. Really quick video, I'm just going to fire through these revision strategies and hope that some of them will help. So the first thing is to brainstorm themes for English. So questions will focus either on theme or character when it comes to English literature. So you want to make sure that you know what you would write for each theme and character essay if it were to come up. So the first thing I do is just brainstorm and think up all possible themes which really relate to this topic and this book. Then what I will do is actually think about which moments in the book, play or poem could actually be applied to this theme in an essay. So that's when I will actually use these mind maps, and I will literally just brainstorm in a different colour to the theme. So here I've just bullet pointed moments which could be quite good for an essay. So you want to think about themes and you want to just get some theme plans written up. So I like to just write those up in a table and just make a list of the specific moments that I would talk about if each of these essay titles came up, and it just reduces your thinking time in an exam, so you're not there thinking, oh actually maybe I'll talk about this moment or this moment. Obviously you can't be 100% prepared for the paper, but these themes can really be applied to any essay then, and once you've got some knowledge of it here, it's going to be so much easier to actually apply later. And even if one of the themes that you haven't prepared comes up, you're going to be more than capable of actually applying the knowledge that you've already got. Number 2, of course, is quotes. So when you're going through the book, literally just highlight and make a note of the key quotes which could relate to each of these themes. What I will do to learn the quotes is put them into a Quizlet, and I will put the quote on one side of the card, and on the other side of the card I will paraphrase it, because a lot of the time I will remember the general gist of the quote, but I just can't remember it specifically, especially with Shakespeare. So for example, for the quote from The Great Gatsby, he stretched out his arm across the dark water. I could have sworn he was trembling. I would just put Gatsby reaching out towards the docklight, and then I could actually try to focus on remembering that actual quote. This works wonders. It's really been beneficial for me. So one thing that I do recommend, and this is useful both for your core text and also if you're doing any unseen passages, is to take some of your key quotes that you've written up and put them in the middle of a page and just mind map off it all of the possible analysis that you could do, and make this really in-depth. So think about syntax, think about how the word actually looks on the page, think about how it sounds, think about how many syllables there are, think about rhyme, think about rhythm, think about whether it refers to anything else in the book, and just make a note of everything you can. Maybe you could time this, so it's a bit like Jay's idea of blurting, which I spoke about before. So it's pressurized and it's timed, and you're really having to think on your feet as you would have to in an exam. When you practice really delving into analysis of it, these really small things which are really easy to overlook, but you can become attuned to that, so that when you're writing essays, when you're talking about a specific quote, you can really explore it and go into depth. Another thing which I really recommend doing is practice essays, and I know that this is really daunting. I think English essays are perhaps the most daunting ones to complete. So another thing to do is to do practice essay plans. So come up with a statement, come up with a theme, and write a detailed essay plan underneath, just saying what you'd basically write about in an essay. Then my last tip, and this one's really important, is to do essay practice. I know that sitting down to write a whole essay is really daunting, and I really like English essays, but it's still something that I sometimes think about procrastinating, and I'm not always 100% motivated to write the essay, just because I know that you really have to invest yourself into English essays. Knowing that you're going to have to put so much energy into it is quite a daunting thought. So I recommend doing practice essay paragraphs. So I like to do just 10-minute timed paragraphs where I put on a timer and then just try and write my whole paragraph in 10 minutes. It means that your brain has to really think about the links, and because it's in a pressurized environment, you're practicing for exams. It's really useful. I really recommend doing it. I do one of these at least one of these every day, and I've seen such an improvement because I find it so difficult to write under pressure, and this is really helping. So I recommend it. It's really useful. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that these quick English revision tips are helpful in some way, and that they're able to help you in revising for your end of year exams, your GCSEs or your A-levels. So thank you again, and have a productive week.